welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and what you are looking at here is the start of the January 2022 layout update. So a lot of time has been spent with these little bastards right here. These are double pole, double throw, momentary switches. I am using these instead of the very clunky Kato controls for their turnouts. But unfortunately, these little guys need some tender loving care before you can put them on your layout. And what that is basically it needs jumpers from the outside corners crisscrossing. So I've been soldering wire after wire after wire because there are a total of 80 of these. That's right. Somehow I have managed to amass 80 turnouts on the layout. So don't do the math on that because you know how expensive the Kato turnouts are, so there's 80 of them on this layout, including the double crossovers and the single crossovers. The other thing I've been working on this this month, other than getting these things installed, which I will show you on the other side, I do have a handful of them installed. I do have a model that I am working on here, a demo building. So there is going to be a video coming out strictly on this building, and I'm also going to show you the weathering of the two demo excavators that I'm going to have. You've probably seen them on the layout before, but they are not weathered, so as part of the tutorial on how I did this video building, you will see how I weather the excavators for the demo. So that's coming up. That's on its own. We're not going to spend a lot of time there. Want to show you this pickup that happened in January, and you guys know that the two things that I love in railroading is Norfolk Southern, my favorite railroad, and then of course maintenance of way and heavy equipment. So when they issued Norfolk Southern's maintenance of way, yeah, obviously had to pick that up. So I do have the CSX one, which had the little excavator on it and the tie, with the tie grapple on it, and I really do like that. But Norfolk Southern is where it's at. So here's an old Southern gondola. It's weathered up, and you can see the Southern is faded off. So, and then they've just stenciled on some numbers because maybe it's away now. So that's very cool. Here's a weathered boxcar converted for the use of maintenance away. Sometimes these boxcars are generator cars. Sometimes this one's just a storage container. So it's heavily weathered. It's really nice. Yes, it does take away the fun. You don't get to weather it because they've already weathered it for you, but they do such a cool job that, it's all right. I'll accept it for the sets. Now, I've got these three flat cars, but of course they have these crew cabins on them and equipment, and I forgot completely that the crew cabins and all that stuff come as separate parts. So here's all the detail parts that need painted and weathered. So when this thing came in, I was totally excited to get it on the layout and start running it, and then I went, shit, gotta build it first. So it's sitting back here because at the time I had already started. I already had 3 projects going. I had the switch machines and I had the building going, so didn't really have space for another project. So until we get that cleaned up, we're gonna put this stuff here off to the side, and that's just gonna have to wait until later, probably in February, to get that done. Okay, let's jump over here to, we're staying on this side of the layout for now, and you'll notice that, one, I have not made any cleanup effort. In fact, it's gotten worse. But yeah, it's okay. We're gonna talk about that later. You'll notice that I've added this second shelf here, so to speak. And what I wanted to do was, you guys know, if you've watched my other videos, that I absolutely hate the Helix. I just don't like them. I never liked them because I didn't have enough space, which is technically a lie. I didn't have enough material or enough desire to build a longer, wider Helix. So my Helix radius was very tight. The grade was very steep, and that required a lot of locomotives to pull a very little bit of cars. What I was able to do here was increase my run. And obviously, simple mathematics tells you if you have an increased run, then you can't, over a longer distance, then your rise is less, which means it's not as steep, which means trains actually can go over this a little bit easier. So I wanted to do something different. I was trying some different techniques, and basically what I did is I used the foam risers up to their highest point at 2% grade. And then at that point, I started cutting foam risers all the way up. And yes, you will notice that I have single track on the curves and double track on the straights. Nothing fancy. No, I'm not expanding my Helix. There's no need to. It doesn't need to be double tracked. What happened was I ran out of straight track. That was single track. So I had 2 or 3 sets that were from double tracks that did not make the main layout, and I just simply borrowed those for the time being. So I am going to clean this mess up. I'm going to build the rest of the guardrail around the track here. I'm going to finish this, clean this up, make it a little more stable. But what I was able to do was take an entire loop off the Helix. So instead of it going around almost 4.5 times now, it goes around, we're going to call it 3-ish, 3.5-ish. So that really was a nice cutback. And in early testing, the trains have run very smooth over it. And so I'm very excited about that. This back here, I was trying a technique, and that was to build strictly out of foam. So I'm not quite done cleaning this thing up here yet, but it does work. I mean, it's very stable. The track is stable on top, and that's what's important. It didn't require a whole lot of work. And what I was trying to do was convince myself that I could assemble a foam structure that would double as a bridge and a support system, and it would be strong enough in N scale. I wouldn't try to send in anything bigger, so I wouldn't go into HO and try to do this. But the evidence is there. Yes, it does work. Yes, the track is stable. No, I have not had any derailment issues. I have been running test after test after test, so it's not pretty looking, but it does work. So if you're curious, yeah, it works. Anyway, I'm going to clean this up probably this month, maybe. I don't know. It's not high on the priority list because I'm not doing operations until I get all my switch machines installed. So this sort of train wreck, lack of a better phrase, back here is going to sit for a little while. But I am happy that it is running better now, and so I'll make it look pretty later. But right now I can run trains. They do stay on the track. They do traverse the radiuses much better, and that makes me happy. Okay, let's jump over to the layout side of things, and I'll show you what's going on. So I thought it only appropriate that we start the layout side of the video on the snowy side, because right now we are under a winter storm warning, and we're getting snow and ice and all kinds of weather bullshit. So while we're doing that, we will also celebrate the snow here on the layout. And of course, I don't think there would be a update if I didn't let you see this train, because yes, you know what's at the end. That's where Rex is at. He's on the last car, and of course, if I do not show him, there is someone going to inevitably post a comment, hey, where's the Rex? So let me prove to you that he is still on the train. Yep, there he is. There he goes. So Rex is doing well in 2022. Okay, so let's talk about what is new for 2022. And I know I have alluded to this before, but if you are interested in how I do winter scenes on the layout, I do have a video coming up, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So stick around for that. It's coming up. I just got back from the hobby shop with all the stuff I need to do it. Okay, so I told you I was installing these switches. Yes, there are 80 of these little toggles, and here are the crossovers that I have wired on here. So what I'll do is I'll strip the wire off in the center of each of these loops, and then I have a main bus wire that is running under the layout. So we're going to jump under here. The wiring is just a mess right now because I'm working on it, but you can see red and black wires. The bus wiring's right here. And then, of course, they're connected to each of the toggles, which mount very nicely right here on the surface of the layout. Now, what those do is, in a momentary burst, you'll just see here, I can go ahead and move the switch just like that. And all I'm doing is giving that switch a little flick, and there it is moving. So, although this is a totally reachable turnout, where some of them are a little further across the layout and you'd have to reach for them, my intention was by making all of the turnouts remote, I wouldn't have to reach my hand over the scenery, run the risk of damaging a telephone pole or a tree or knocking a vehicle over. So that's how that's going to go. And I've got I got a handful of these things done. I've been putting a couple on each hour after work hours. But so here they all are. I am going to have an indicator here to tell you which switch they work. I know which one they work because I wired them in a certain sequence, so I know where they're at. Obviously this one who's all by himself, well, he controls the only turnout that's all by himself. But of course there's two here that are going to get wired, and so the question will be two. Yep, looks like we lost our train. The question will be two. Where do we place these? Because where am I going to be working this industry, right? So chances are, because that industry is situated on that side of the peninsula, I'll be working it from that side. So this turnout realistically is probably going to be controlled over there with all of those. So there's some thought that goes into it. But how that system is powered, you come under here and you'll notice that I've got a standard, it's an old transformer, came with one of those original Bachmann train sets, and you'll notice that it's turned on. One very important thing to note is these are DC switches, so you have to put it to the DC side of the power pack. If you don't, what you're going to end up with is really actually unfortunate, because what it's going to do is your the AC just makes some sort of flutter. They don't work, so you have to run DC to the Kato turnouts. So very simply, I just have that mounted under there. Excuse all this other wiring. I took a bunch of stuff out of the harnesses to get this all put together, so I'm gonna have to go back under there and tidy up. But let's go ahead. I'm gonna rescue our train here, and then let's jump on to the other side. So the most hated video of 2021 was these Woodland Scenics telephone poles, and I'm in the process of installing a few more of them. I know everybody hated that video, it seemed like, but I did start with them. So where I had them, I want to finish with them. So that's gonna stay just as it is. If you watched my most recent video, you know that we started signaling the layout. So there is the ProTech signal. Check out the video on how that works. I am going to be using some ProTech signals on my layout, and the reason I am putting all of the switch control wiring in now is because a lot of the signals are going to be tied to the location and position of switches. So it sort of needed to be done first, so I'm doing things in sequence right now. The wiring of these turnouts is going to be a huge undertaking, so before I get too far into signaling, I want to get the layout control completed. So working on that, and it's not my favorite thing to do with the wiring, but it will clean up this mess of wires that's just dangling underneath all the layout. Okay, so here's the back side of that conveyor that I was talking about, and basically all it is connecting what is representing my rotary dump shed to the rest of the coal stockpile. Yes, I need to finish the coal stockpile, and I got to do some scenery patching here and some other things. But the conveyors are done, so I got that reconfigured. I'm happy about that. Let's jump up here. I did get my track reshaped, so I've got the profile here. I invested in one of those handy dandy little wire cutters, and the hot foam wire cutters, and that made finishing this grade up nice and easy. So I think it's 35 bucks, something like that. The Woodland Scenics version. There's others out there. In fact, you can even get knives now that are. But anyway, so yeah, so this track is in. That's wonderful. And then down here on the lower section, I had the another kit of those Woodland Scenics telephone pole wires. That's got installed, and that will possibly be the last of the Woodland Scenics. I may switch to another system, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. So anyway, so that's where we are there. Probably the biggest project that was completed, and I know if you are following me on Instagram, you've seen it. But that monstrosity, yep, that is the cargo ship. It was a Sylvan model. Let me tell you what, this model kit was a challenge to build. It was very, very, very fun. I had a great time with it, actually. I'm just going to show you some of the details here. that it comes with. Yep, you have to string the individual cables between all of these stanchions. I use the Vallejo pigments to rust up the anchors. There's my rusty anchor right there. They do give you the decals for the ship, which is awesome. And then we'll just come around back here to the bridge and everything else. And once again, there's your lifeboats and your railings and your different moorings and pumps and all that sort of stuff. So really, this is, I'll be honest with you, this was just a fun model to build. Overall, I think it was about 18 hours from start to finish to weathering. This actual boat that this is modeled off of was actually scrapped, and its sister ship, from what I read online, actually sank. So these boats are no longer in real life, and it's a little bit different than some of the modern container ships that you will see coming into, say, like the Port of Savannah, and I'd say into the Port of Los Angeles, but hell, there's nothing happening out there, so they can't get their shit together. So whatever ports down in Florida, wherever those ships are landing, and then rather than put very expensive plastic containers on here, I simply used some foam core, and then I have I downloaded from the internet somewhere. I have a PDF file of various containers, and I just simply cut them out and place them on the ship. So that was a really fun project. If you have a couple $100 to spend and you want to do a boat, this is definitely the kit. The next thing I want to do is a tugboat, because this boat's actually going to sit back here behind the scenes, so to speak, which is a shame to put such a beautiful model in the background, but that's where the harbor is going to be, so I need a little tugboat to get him around. But anyway, so that was a fun project that happened in most of January. Okay, and then the very, very, very last thing that I did in January was I am experimenting with yet another process, let's say. And what that is I have this black foam core that I am using to build up the layout. This top section has a very thin plywood top. I am not thrilled of this, having gone to foam on the two wings for the upper layout. Definitely gives you a lot more flexibility for install and work. So I don't think I'll ever be using plywood again. But what I did was I wanted to put a thin layer of that's just tinted drywall mud to make a base, and it's sitting over top of the foam core, and it worked beautifully. It gave me exactly the look I wanted. So I'm going to get ready to start scenicking this. Some of it's going to be pavement, some of it's going to be stone. But anyway, so that worked out well. I've got another building pad ready here. I started laying out the lumber yard where I want that. I decided that this track right here is going to be my engine track. This is where the engines are going to tie down overnight when they're working the industries here. I got my station set where I want it. So I've started figuring out my upper layout here and getting my industries in place. I don't know what's going to go here yet. I've got a couple of warehouse options. There's going to be a few warehouses in the back there. So I've got a lot of things that I need to build and build up this city. But we're looking at probably 2 industries back there, and then 1 here on the end. So there's going to be at least 3 switching points there, plus the lumber mill, which is going to have 2 different tracks, a covered and an uncovered. And then, of course, whatever's going to go here. I think this is going to be cold storage. I have some reefers that I want to get, on the layout. So that's going to be there. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk about what is coming up for February. So obviously, I've been spending a lot of time, as you can tell by looking at the train room floor, wiring and soldering and all that crap that I don't really necessarily enjoy, but I am going to get at least a few more of these switch machines put on. And then I am going to continue working up above here, working on those models in the background. And then I'm also going to, I'm going to try to get this coal mine scene done. It's just, I feel like I've been putting it off for the longest time, just because it's it's one of those scenes that was done. I tore it apart. I reconfigured it. I kind of lost interest in it, but you know, it's a destination for traffic. So I do need to finish it. I need to get back in here and clean this thing up and finish it. So that's going to be a February task. And then if I still have some more time left over, I may go clean up some of the other scenes on this side. Not going to touch the harbor at all. It needs to. That is going to be a late year thing, I think. And I've still got some stuff here on the terminal, obviously, to work on. So plenty of projects. Don't know which ones I'm going to get to, especially because I'm considering putting a lot of time into this city area so I can start using this, especially now that the switches are going to be functional and easy to reach. So that is our update for 2022's January. I do have a couple more videos coming up that are going to be in pretty short order here. One is that demo building that I'm showing you. It's going to go right there, yep, where those demo excavators are. I'm going to show you how to weather those. And then I am going to do a... we forgot about Brandon. What happened? We forgot about Brandon. So he's still on the back of that caboose, and that train is not moved, other than a couple times that I moved it by hand because it was in the way. So we need to finish Brandon's story and complete the switching. I'm going to do that. And then, like I said, I've got all of the stuff I need to do to show you how I do snow here on the layout, and I'm going to send that wisdom off to you, so hopefully you can use it on your layout. So that's what's coming up, and thanks for watching the January update. Stay tuned for all the upcoming videos.